My older sister couldn't carry her own baby, and at Easter dinner my family told me it was my duty to be her surrogate. The words didn't land softly. They slammed into me like a door being kicked open. I remember the clinking of glasses stopping, the low hum of conversation dying, and every pair of eyes turning toward me as if this had all been decided long before I even sat down at that table. My mom leaned forward first, her voice calm but sharp enough to cut through any resistance. "You owe her," she said, as if it were the most obvious truth in the world. "She let you live with her after your divorce." My dad nodded beside her, not even looking at me directly, just confirming the verdict like a judge who had already made up his mind. I felt my chest tighten. It wasn't just the demand, it was the assumption that my body, my life, and my future were all negotiable. That I was somehow indebted in a way that erased my right to say no. My sister sat there across from me, hands folded neatly, eyes expectant. There wasn't even hesitation in her expression. She didn't ask me. She waited for me to agree. My sister already had the contract printed, I realized when she slid a folder across the table toward me. The paper made a soft scraping sound against the polished wood, but it echoed in my head like thunder. I stared at it, not opening it yet, because opening it would mean acknowledging that this was real, that they had gone this far without even talking to me first. My mom gave a small, encouraging smile, the kind she used when she thought she was being reasonable. "We've made everything easy for you," she said. "All you have to do is sign. All you have to do." As if it were that simple. I finally opened the folder. Legal language filled the pages, terms, obligations, medical clauses, timelines. It wasn't just a suggestion. It was a binding agreement, detailed and deliberate. They had planned this. They had expected compliance. My hands felt cold as I flipped through the pages, my heart pounding louder with every line I read. There was no space in those paragraphs for my feelings, my fears, or my future. It was all about what I would give, what I would endure, and what I would surrender. "You'd be helping your family," my dad added, his tone softer now, as if trying a different approach would make me more agreeable. "That's what matters. Helping. Duty. Owing." They kept using words that made it sound noble, but it didn't feel noble. It felt like pressure tightening around me from every side. I glanced up at my sister again. She finally spoke, her voice gentle but firm. "I wouldn't ask if I had another option," she said. "You're the only one who can do this for me." And there it was, the final piece. Not a request, not a conversation. A declaration. I was the solution to her problem, and everyone in that room had already agreed on it. For a moment, I said nothing. I just sat there, letting the weight of it all settle. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I could hear my own breathing, steady but shallow, as I looked down at the contract again. Every line felt like a chain, every clause a lock. They had built a cage out of expectations, and they were waiting for me to step inside it willingly. But something inside me resisted. Maybe it was the memory of everything I had already given up in my life. Maybe it was the quiet voice in my head reminding me that I had fought too hard to rebuild myself after my divorce to lose control again. Or maybe it was the simple, undeniable truth that this wasn't right. I kept reading. And then I saw it. A single clause buried near the end of page 4. It was written in the same formal tone as everything else, easy to overlook if you weren't paying close attention. But I was paying attention. Every word mattered now. And as I read it, something shifted inside me, not fear, not confusion, but clarity. I didn't react immediately. I didn't show them what I had found. Instead, I closed the folder slowly, my fingers steady now. The room was still watching me, waiting. My mom's smile had grown tighter, my dad's patience thinner. My sister leaned forward slightly, anticipation flickering in her eyes. They thought they knew how this would end. They thought I would fold. But I wasn't the same person who had once needed a place to stay, who had once accepted whatever was offered just to survive. I had changed. And now, holding that contract in my hands, I realized something important. This wasn't just their plan. This was my moment. I looked around the table one more time, taking in every face, every expectation, every assumption they had placed on me. And for the first time since the conversation began, I felt something close to calm. Because I knew something they didn't. And whatever happened next, it wasn't going to go the way they expected. I didn't speak right away. I let the silence stretch just enough to make them uncomfortable, just enough to make them wonder if I was about to agree. Then I opened the folder again, slowly, deliberately, flipping straight to the page that had changed everything for me. My sister already had the contract printed. I circled one clause, handed it back. My voice was calm, too calm for what they expected. My mom leaned forward, her smile returning like she thought this was the moment I would finally say yes. My dad exhaled, relieved too soon. My sister's eyes lit up with quiet victory. Every person in that room turned white. Because I didn't say yes. I tapped the page with my finger. "Did you actually read this?" I asked. My sister frowned slightly. "Of course I did. It's standard." "No," I said, shaking my head, sliding the contract closer to her. "It's not." She looked down, following the circle I had drawn around the clause. My mom leaned in beside her, and my dad adjusted his glasses, all three of them scanning the same paragraph. I watched their expressions change in real time, confidence slipping, confusion creeping in, and then something else. Fear. "It says here," I continued, my voice steady, "that in the event of medical complications, the surrogate agrees to follow all decisions made by the intended parents regarding treatment, regardless of personal risk." My mom blinked. "That's just legal wording." "No," I cut in, sharper this time. "It means if something goes wrong, if there's a situation where it's my life or the baby." I paused, letting it sink in. "I don't get to choose." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. My sister looked back down at the page, reading it again, slower this time. "That's not what it means," she said, but her voice had lost its certainty. "It is exactly what it means," I replied. "And it doesn't stop there." I flipped another page, pointing to a second section. "This part? It says I'm responsible for maintaining optimal health conditions as defined by you. That includes diet, travel restrictions, even where I live." I looked up at them. "Do you realize what that means? You'd control my entire life for 9 months." "That's normal for surrogacy," my dad said, but even he didn't sound convinced anymore. "Not like this," I said quietly. "Not without safeguards. Not without my rights being protected." My mom straightened up, her expression tightening. "You're overreacting. This is your family. We wouldn't let anything happen to you." I let out a small, humorless laugh. "You already did," I said. "The moment you decided this for me without asking." That landed harder than anything else I had said. My sister closed the folder, her hands trembling slightly now. "We just thought you'd understand," she said. "I do understand," I replied. "I understand that you're desperate. I understand that you want a child. But that doesn't give you the right to take control of my body and my future." My dad rubbed his temple, clearly frustrated. "So what are you saying? You're just going to refuse? After everything your sister's done for you?" There it was again. That word. "Oh." I met his gaze directly. "Letting me stay with her after my divorce wasn't a transaction," I said. "It was family. Or at least, I thought it was." No one spoke. Because they didn't have an answer for that. I stood up slowly, the chair scraping softly against the floor. For a second, no one moved. It was like they were all trying to process how quickly this had slipped out of their control. "I'm not signing this," I said. "Not this contract. Not under these conditions. And not because you think I owe you." My mom's face hardened. "If you walk away from this, don't expect things to stay the same." I nodded. "They already aren't." I picked up my coat, my hands steady now in a way they hadn't been before. There was no hesitation left, no doubt. Just clarity. As I turned toward the door, my sister's voice stopped me. "Gwen, please." I paused, but I didn't turn around. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "I didn't realize." I closed my eyes for a brief moment. For the first time that night, she sounded human again, not entitled, not certain. Just scared. "I hope you find another way," I said quietly. "But it won't be through me." And then I walked out. The cold air outside hit me like a reset. My chest rose with a deep breath I didn't realize I'd been holding all evening. Behind me, that house, The expectations, the pressure, the silent contracts I never agreed to felt smaller with every step I took away from it. For the first time in a long time, I felt in control. Not because I had everything figured out, but because I had finally chosen myself. And sometimes, that's the only decision that really matters.